2026, 2027.
We have a recommendation by our superintendent to approve the levy order for the fiscal year 2026, 2027. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Then all in favor of approving the levy rates for the fiscal years 2026 to 2027, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. Now I'll accept a motion to adjourn the meeting of March 17th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting of March 17th. Any discussion on that? And all in favor of adjourning the March 17th meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. We are adjourned. And now we'll call the April 21st meeting to order. And we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And let's pray. Almighty God, as we gather, we thank you for the opportunity to be here, and we thank you for all of the extra folks that we have this evening here, and we thank you for all that they've accomplished, and we ask that you would continue to bless them in all that they do, and that you would bless us tonight in our meeting. Amen. And with everybody's consent, I'm going to adjust the agenda so that the student and staff recognition from South Branch Community Technical Center will come next. So that's what we will do. Shelley, it's all yours.
I want to first say thank you to the Pendleton County Board of Education who invited me here to come tonight to talk a little bit about South Branch Career and Technical Center and to also celebrate some of your students. Is there anything I need to do?
No, we just need to get a microphone back to you. So that
Is it ready? It's
Yes,
ready.
yep.
Ready. Okay. All right.
we're glad to have you here
Yes.
and have our students here.
I didn't get to bring everybody. We have, good students are busy, and some are employed, and some are playing baseball tonight against Petersburg, and so some couldn't make it. So I'm going to start with just talking about our center initially, and then at the end, we'll talk about the students who are here this evening.
Great.
Thank you. South Branch Career and Technical Center prepares students for future careers and post-secondary education by providing them with practical, hands-on learning experiences and skills relevant to various industries. Our instructors, and I'm going to name them tonight, Mr. Dave Adams from Building and Maintenance and Operations, Matthew Alexander from Welding, Monica Bennett, Law and Public Safety, Felicia Cook, Tourism, Marketing and Entrepreneurship, Travis Hansrote, Broadcasting, Candy Kite, Therapeutic Services, Jeb Metzler, Automotive, Jennifer Miller and Julia Miller, Cosmetology, and Leroy Shook, Carpentry. And I do want to point out that Monica Bennett and Felicia Cook are proud graduates of Pendleton County High School, and they now work for South Branch Career and Technical Center and do a fine job. In addition, we have Heather White from middle school, Career Exploration, Holly Alps, who teaches mathematics, Amy Cummings, English, and we do have a vacancy in electrical technician instructor, which we are starting to interview on Thursday. Who we serve. We serve all of Grant County Schools' 7th and 8th graders. We serve all of Petersburg High School's 9th graders and Petersburg High School's 10th through 12th, Grant, Hardy, and Pendleton County's 11th through 12th grade students who take our regular program courses, and we also serve option pathway students from Grant, Hardy, and Pendleton counties. And that program is taught by Stephen Arbaugh, who is a Circleville graduate from Pendleton County. We have post-secondary, which is after high school students, and that's our cosmetology program. Who we serve. We serve career-bound students, college-bound students, and students planning to attend technical college. 79% of CTE students enroll in college or a post-secondary program. And that is sometimes not what you think about students who come to the Career and Tech Center. But 79%, almost 80%, do enroll in a post-secondary education experience. Our current enrollment is 556 students, and we have grown substantially in my 8 years. We started off about 229 students, and now we serve 556, and that was the addition of middle school, doing more first period courses at Petersburg High School, and then doing more recruitment for our 11th and 12th graders. So we have 170 middle schoolers, 267 regular program kids, and this year, 19 post-secondary students. Our projected enrollment for next year is 640. And we have 109 ninth graders, 199 middle schoolers, that's both for Union and Petersburg High School. And then for our regular programs, we have 144 students at this point in time. 75 are from Moorfield High School and 29 from East Hardy High School. And from Pendleton County High School, we have 54. And then post-secondary, we have 30 students. Myth. CTE programs are only for students who don't perform well academically and who plan to enter the workforce after graduation. The fact is, CTE equips all students with valuable skills and knowledge, regardless of their post-secondary plans. Work-based learning develops critical thinking, innovation, employability skills that prepare students for the next stage of life, whether that's pursuing higher education or starting a career. Another myth. CTE programs only offer training for manual labor jobs and don't provide as many career opportunities in traditional college paths. The facts are, CTE students at our center have access to education in diverse fields and opportunities to explore in-demand careers in a variety of industries. South Branch offers courses in healthcare, tourism, and manufacturing, and these are the 3 fastest growing employment sectors in West Virginia. What we do. We combine academic subjects with specialized technical training to provide a well-rounded education. We equip students with technical and employability skills necessary for their chosen career fields, and we assist students to develop resumes, interview skills, and workplace competencies. Our exploratory courses that we offer for 9th graders are Intro to Cosmetology, Crime Scene Investigation, Foundations of Industrial Equipment Maintenance, Intro to Facilities Management, Intro to Broadcasting, Drones and Robotics, and Principles of Entrepreneurship, which we're adding for next year. It's new. Our 10th through 12th grades, and that's for first period only, Medical Terminology, which is a dual credit course from Eastern, Intro to Auto Technology, Intro to Carpentry, Intro to Welding, and Introduction to Broadcasting. Our regular programs for next year are Broadcasting and Robotics, Drone Technology, Building Maintenance and Operations, Carpentry and Computer-Aided Design, Electrical Technician, Automotive Technician, and Welding. And these courses offer articulated credit through Eastern. Also, we offer Law and Public Safety, and that has free dual credit from Potomac State College, and those students are in our programs for 2 years and earn 12 college credits. Cosmetology and Therapeutic Services, and Tourism, which is also a dual credit course, and for 2 years you get 9 credits through Eastern that are free. So what's new? We reconfigured first period offerings so that we could provide career exploration opportunities for all Petersburg High School 9th grade students, provided middle school career and exploration opportunities for all Union 7th and 8th grade students, and we received the Pinnacle Award in 2025 as the West Virginia Middle School CTE Program of the Year. What's new and also not new is that we're pleased to offer personal finance for next year to Pendleton County High School students to support student scheduling. And not new is that we continue to provide embedded mathematics credit, transitional math credit for welding, automotive, carpentry, building maintenance, and operations and electrical programs. Our new program next year is entrepreneurship, which prepares students to launch and manage their own ventures through experiential learning. It covers business planning, marketing, finance, and innovation, often culminating in certifications, internships, and professional pitches. This pathway transforms classrooms into labs for developing and analyzing and launching real-world business opportunities. This course will focus on business planning and strategy, financial literacy, marketing and sales, innovation, and design thinking. Also new for next year is robotics and drone technology. And that will be a program offered with our broadcasting instructor who is also certified in drone technology. We're also going to add computer-aided design, and that will be through our carpentry program for next year as well. And that's really geared for students who have an interest in engineering and for students who want to be project managers in carpentry. Best practices. We use what's called simulated workplace, and that moves from the traditional classroom to hierarchy to active companies using strategies to prepare students for the workforce. Our students wear uniforms, and they work in hands-on real-world applications of technical skills through clinical experiences and internships. It promotes critical thinking, communication, teamwork, citizenship, integrity, and ethical leadership. So that's about our programs. Are there any questions about anything I mentioned academically? Okay, I'll continue. We have what's called career and technical student organizations. They're called CTSOs. And that participation is an essential component of CTE instruction, providing students with opportunities to develop professional skills, build connections with peers, and explore career paths. And SBCTC is a Skills USA total participation, which means our entire school are members. We've received awards for our student leadership in CTSOs. We're a National Model of Excellence from 2025. We're a Gold Chapter of Distinction this year, and that's the third year in a row. We have the middle school largest membership, and we're the second largest chapter in West Virginia. And our students compete. They competed in March at Fairmont State, and there were 1,800 competitors, and our students were there and fared very well. And if you imagine, it's like the state basketball tournament, but it's for career and technical education. So it's that elevated. And we have some local winners to celebrate. And if I call your name, come up. And then I'm just going to call everyone's name because they're all local winners. But Pendleton County this year did very well with our local competitions. They did very well. So our first place winners locally were Barrett Cook, Carpentry Showcase, Logan Fisher, who's here this evening, for Teamworks. He did the electrical part of Teamworks. Yeah, go up there and say hi to the folks.
I'd like to shake your hand. Congratulations.
Good job, Lovey.
Taylor Forbes, who was an aesthetics model, McKinley Hedrick, who did architectural drafting, Cashton Casimore, who's at the ball game tonight, he did electrical construction wiring, Caitlin McQuain, she did job skills demonstration open, Orrin Merrick, basic residential wiring, Jaden Mitz and Kira Rell did community service, Malcolm Smith, who I know is ill, did criminal justice, and Alex Tracy and Brennan Wyatt did entry-level carpentry team. In addition, Madison Simmons, come on up, Madison. She did pen design, and she was a second place local winner.
Congratulations.
And we have Jessany Taylor, who did t-shirt design, and she was a second place local winner.
Congratulations.
And we have Dakota Kimball. Is Dakota here? No? Dakota Kimball. And he was the criminal justice second place winner. So let's give them a round of applause. Also with me this evening, I have Some other students that I want to recognize. I want to recognize Xander Adams, and he's here with the welding program, and he's an officer with Skills USA, and he was selected to attend the State Leadership Academy this year, and he's a welding student. And we have, I also invited, and he didn't get to make it tonight, Bryson Fazenbaker, and he is a standout automotive student. And the final student that I want to recognize who's here is Bryn Reel, and she is representing the Therapeutic Services Program. And we're proud to announce that Miss Bryn Reel took her Certified Nursing Assistance boards last week and did a marvelous job, and she is now a Certified Nursing Assistant.
Congratulations on that, too. Thank you all. Well done, everybody.
Thank you.
I wanted to make mention, Caitlin McQuain, who's not here tonight, she won gold at the state competition, and she will be representing Pendleton County High School and South Branch Career and Technical Center nationally in Atlanta on June 1st through the 5th in Atlanta, Georgia, and she did very well. She got 100%
Wow.
at her state competition.
That's awesome.
Also, state level winners were Jaden Mitz and Kier Real for community service, and Taylor Forbes was an aesthetic model, and they won silver. Another exciting thing I wanted to share is that all of our programs medaled at the state, but one program. So every program that we talked about with teachers, they all medaled at the state level. And I'll remind you again, 1,800 competitors. And we medaled in every program but one,
Wow.
statewide. So I think that's a pretty hefty award to show the work that our students and teachers are doing at South Branch. And with that, I will close and entertain any questions that you might have.
I don't think we have questions, but I tell you, when we're down in the meetings, you all do a good job. Thank you for everybody for all that you do, all these the competitions that you've gone to, and all that happens. It's
Thank
a good
you.
school doing a good job for our community. Thank you all.
Yes.
Thank you. The students, we have fine students to work with, and that makes the job all the better.
Yep.
So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Go ahead and do that.
If you want to, yeah, go ahead.
Right, Ms. Wetzel, do you want to go ahead and? That's what you would like. Right, yeah, and I think that'd be best.
Okay, so I am going to tell you about FBLA. This is the second year that FBLA has been in Pendleton. It has not been here before. I was in FBLA when I was in Grant County at the Career and Technical Center. So I've started it up here. I'm missing a student from here, and that's okay, but the two that are here did phenomenal. The third one also did phenomenal. I'm very proud of these students. Okay, very, very proud of these students, the hard work they put into it. So, Shane, go ahead and stand up, please. She did business marketing concepts and placed, you want to tell them what you placed? Huh? Okay, she placed 7th in her division out of the entire state. These are all the schools in the state that come together. She placed 7th in her division. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay. Liam Simmons, who is not here, placed 14th, I do believe, in his division out of the entire state. That's personal finance. That runs all grades from 9th through 12th grade compete in that division in personal finance. Ben, please stand. Ben competed in his for Intro to FBLA. You have to know the entire history of FBLA inside and out. He placed a perfect score of 100% in the state of West Virginia. So he will be representing us in Pendleton County for Pendleton County High School in San Antonio, Texas, here at the end of June.
Wow, awesome.
So I'm very proud of these students and the work they have put in at this school. For the second year, this is not an easy competition to go into for FBLA with other business leading students who have been doing this against other schools around the clock all the time. So kudos to these kiddos and these students. I'm very, very proud of them.
That's a great job.
So, very proud of them.
I would like to say that I'm also proud of Ms. Wetzel for the amount of work that she's put in
Definitely.
to the FBLA program. It's growing very quickly, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
That's awesome.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Wetzel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and congratulations to you all too. And we didn't get to shake your hand because you didn't come up, but.
Good job.
Well done. Congratulations, impressive.
Yeah, can we get your pictures, guys?
You're doing the light scan.
Represent us out there when you get ready to go.
Thank you. They're the ones that put in the work. I'm a supporter. I just help them. It is now.
Nicole was hiding back.
They're the ones that put the work in. They need to be recognized.
Thank you all again.
Yes,
Thank you all very much for having us.
And you're
Thank
welcome to
you.
stay. You can stay if you want.
You know, teenagers.
Okay, so now we're back to student hearing.
Yes.
Okay, let's move to item 5 now on the agenda, the student transfer request hearing.
All right, and I would recommend that we have this transfer in effect for the 2026-2027 school year.
We have a recommendation to have the student transfer request for the 2026-2027
Yes,
school
in
year.
effect for next school year.
In effect for the next school year. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? And all in favor of making the transfer request for the 26-27 school year signify by saying aye. And opposed, no. Motion passes. No public, so no public comment. And that brings us down to the minutes of the April 7th board meeting. We've all received those. Are there any corrections or objections to those minutes, or do we have a motion to approve them as presented?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
We have a motion and seconds. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. The minutes of April 7th are approved, and that brings us down now to the retirements and resignations and retirements.
We have one retirement, Randall Smith, school bus operator, effective June 30th, 2026.
And you have my recommendation to approve this retirement as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the retirement of Randall Smith as presented. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion with regret.
We have a motion made with regret. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of accepting Randall Smith's resignation as of June 30th with regret, please signify by saying aye. And opposed, no. Motion passes.
We have no RIFs and no permissions to close. So under employment, we have Daniel Miller, extracurricular middle school girls head basketball coach at Pendleton County Middle High School. Leah Jones, extracurricular before and after school reading and math tutor at Franklin Elementary School. Hunter Turner, extracurricular assistant football coach at Pendleton County Middle High School. Rachel Miller, extracurricular SAT 504 MTSS attendance coordinator, and that's at Franklin Elementary School.
That's Mitchell.
Oh, Mitchell, sorry. Allison Vinsel, extracurricular assistant softball coach at Pendleton County Middle High School. Heather Copley, accountant 2, secretary 2 at Franklin Elementary School. Amy Gardner, early childhood classroom assistant teacher aide at Franklin Elementary School. Bailey Kirby, restricted substitute teacher. Melinda Kopp, Nancy Miller, Bailey Kirby, and Elizabeth Shriver, substitute aides.
You have my recommendation to approve these positions as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve these as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving Daniel Miller, Leah Jones, Hunter Turner, Rachel Mitchell, Allison Bensel, Heather Copley, Amy Gardner, Bailey Kirby, Melinda Cobb, Nancy Miller, Bailey Kirby, and Elizabeth Shriver, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. We have employed them.
And we have no contracts to approve tonight. Approval of non-paid coaches. We have Ryan Boggs, middle school baseball, Josh Owens, baseball, Shelba Bensel, softball, Mary Beth Hebb, boys and girls track.
And you have my recommendation to approve these non-paid coaches as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve these non-paid coaches as presented. Do we have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
And a second. You can pick one of those for a second. Okay. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving Ryan Boggs, Joshua Owens, Shelby Vinsel, and Mary Beth Hebb as non-paid coaches, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Approval of volunteers and chaperones. Would you like me to read all those?
That's okay. I'm not planning
Okay.
on reading them either.
All right, you have my recommendation to approve volunteers, chaperones, and drivers as presented.
We have our recommendation to approve the volunteers, chaperones, and drivers as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approval of the volunteers and chaperones and drivers as listed, please signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed, no. Motion passes.
We have no leave of absence.
No leaves of absence, so that finishes us up under personnel, and we will move to finance.
All right, nothing for tonight under 10A, budget revisions, but under 10B, we do have approval of the Step 7 plan of personnel, and I will bring that up. Step 7 is a part of the state funding formula. We have like a 7-step funding formula for professional personnel service, and you've seen presentations on that. The Step 7 piece is to be set aside for improvement of instruction, but the state also has opened it up as a block grant where it can be used wherever a county best sees fit. Meaning, while it can really have flexibility, we do pay textbooks out of Step 7. We pay for some other supplies and materials, stipends and services and things like that. So in 2027, Pendleton County will get $426,833, and we'll see that in a regular budget discussion here in a little bit. And we've always reserved 25% for personnel, and we've done that really since before my time. And it's just a way that it helps us, make sure we have a balanced budget. And it's always been 25%. We could have 50% maximum. We have not chosen to do that because between the textbooks and a lot of instructional software and programs that no longer are funded by federal programs, whether it be Edmentum or Schoology or different ones, come out of some Step 7 projects that we have. So we pretty much use it up every year, but we do use 25% for personnel. So it is our recommendation again to ask for permission to use 25% for personnel again in FY 26-27 school year.
You have my recommendation to use 25% of the Step 7 funding for personnel.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve 25% of the Step 7 funding for personnel. Do we have a motion? And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
JP, who are these personnel that,
Well, it's just generally just an amount of money, and we spend on professional salaries probably $6 or $7 million a year. I will usually put like the business teacher, technology teacher salary and benefits and retirement. This would be more than that. usually the description I put in, but the state does not make us list any one particular person. We just transfer 106,708 from the general budget to this portion during the year.
Anything additional? Then all in favor of approving $106,708 for personnel out of the 426,833 in step 7 funding, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
All right, the next item, speaking of budget, is a discussion, a preliminary discussion. At the next meeting, the first Tuesday in May, we'll present a budget, be fine-tuned a little bit, but it's in good shape for tonight, to be a preliminary budget for public inspection. And anybody can look at the budget or get a copy of the budget. And then the advertisement goes in the newspaper about a public hearing to be held on the second meeting in May, is when we'll do the official approval. So that's the process for our timeline. So this budget tonight, I'm going to talk to you about some highlights of the budget. And then we have the audit coming up, which will kind of tie some things together. So the first page of the preliminary budget, so it's a lengthy document, not going to go over it tonight, and I'll have some summary copies as we go forward the next few meetings. The bottom line is we're basically balanced in this budget for 27. I'm going to point out some things, and we certainly have some reserve for contingencies, and we have some within 5,890.86, which will be some rounding, and I'll be able to make it balance. So this just shows revenue and expenses. Doesn't show total revenues and expenses. It'll be a little bit more than last year with the pay raises, but we have some personnel reductions as well. So those totals will be pretty similar. We will have those at the next meeting, and then for approval at the second meeting in May. And so then a couple of highlights on this particular budget document. Here in red, I've just kind of picked out a page 2 of the PDF. I think, a lot of our budget, 85% plus, is personnel. And all school districts across the country, certainly in West Virginia, between salaries and retirement and health insurance and Social Security. So a lot of that is in person. So we talk about personnel a lot in terms of ways that we can, balance the budget, have enough revenues. But there's also a couple of things here. So one of my goals would be next year to work with Nicole, the superintendent, Travis, and Dan, and look at things like custodial supplies. And I'm not saying that there is an easy fix. So things like paper towels, things for the restrooms, cleaning supplies, all sorts of things throughout the year that we have certain vendors and we have certain state contracts that we buy things from. But that, was, and again, years ago was certainly much less. $60,000 we spent in 2025, $49,000 so far this year, but we're not over yet. We'll buy some stuff for summer cleaning, and $74,900 in the budget for next year. I could certainly lower that down, but based upon inflation and trends, it's probably going to be in that ballpark. So I'm not saying there's anything that we're doing incorrectly there. It's just if we look at large areas, like what can we maybe exert some control over and think about things as we do them, that would be one example. Well, a larger line item, of course, then right next to it is electricity, which, is limited because, you turn the lights on, turn the computers on, turn HVAC on, and, so $350,000 is the budget. By the time we get to the final budget, that might be bumped up a little bit. Rates have gone up over the years, but also usage is a factor, and I certainly keep some charts and graphs, and I'll be presenting those. Obviously tied into our HVAC improvements at Franklin Elementary coming up, and just our control packages in general. I just want to take a little bit of a deeper look next year. Is there anything we can do with our schedules, meaning that all the buildings are scheduled with certain temperatures during the day, certain temperatures at night, certain temperatures on weekends, and there's at various times of the year, there's various schools with how far to set them back, how low to set them, and then somebody has to monitor, and so it's kind of a task that doesn't just sit there and take care of itself. Ideally it would, but there's things that go wrong from time to time. So I think we can gain improvement there. Now, do I know that it's X amount of money? I don't. It's a large enough item outside of personnel that it's worth taking a look at. Right below it's bottled gas or propane. I guess the description from the state's bottled gas, we would probably call it propane or LP. We spend roughly $100,000 here, depending on, per gallon prices, and we've had good prices, and the markup's not too much from our vendor. But we'll probably look at going out to bid on that again. And then also, again, the propane at the high school, in large part, in North Fork Elementary, they have electricity and propane. FES, a little bit of propane, mostly electric, and Brandywine's pretty much all electric as we go through there. So again, so heating and cooling, not getting into repairs and maintenance we've been talking about, it's close to $500,000 a year, $350 and $102. You throw in some water and sewer and trash disposal and things, and you're up, over $500,000. So I don't, again, have a foolproof answer, but at the same time, we've been fighting these. But I think it's time to take a little bit closer look, maybe have a discussion over the summer before the school year starts to see if there's anything we can do. Even if we can save 5 or 10%, obviously that's significant savings in those areas, and take a look at some of those with a little more detail. So there's that one in the budget. Scrolling down a page, repairs and maintenance. Now that can vary from year to year. So I'm on page 3 of the PDF. What's in the budget for 27? $296,700. What was the budget for 26? Well, 166.7. Some of that's repairs and maintenance that we can transfer out of the budget supplement. But we have spent, and some of that's for summer repair and maintenance that we had to get reimbursed by insurance. But let's see if we can get rid of that advertisement popping up. So we spent $183 in FY25, and that can vary depending on all the different things that can go wrong, all the different components and things that go through there. So again, $300,000 is a pretty much round number there. It would be good if we could, tighten that up a little bit. And but again, when things break down, are you not going to have HVAC, or you're not going to have certain flooring things taken care of, or certain things. So we will look at that. We'll come together in the summer, see if we can put together a more definitive budget there, and see if there's any savings we can get. We still have things to fix, and we're still a $20 million operation. So we're not saying all those things can necessarily be taken down to a certain level, but we need to take a look at it and work at it. And then maintenance supplies, and really repair and maintenance down there as well. That might be some other related maintenance costs. 59 and 45 so far. I can probably we can get rid of that one. Get back to it. I'll get it back here. So we have some goals there. I mean, we're looking, if you look at energy costs and repair and maintenance and supply, we're looking at over $1 million probably with all that together, with facilities and repairs and maintenance. So with inflation, it's certainly naive to think that we can move the needle drastically, but I think with a bit of a proactive approach, we can make some positive change or some positive influence on those numbers, and maybe be more in tune as we go out the year. But by and large, we fix what is broken, we purchase what is needed. Now, I guess we can discuss, are there certain things that we can take a little second look at, that we can do a little bit differently, and so we'll be taking a look at those items. And so really with all the rest, and one more item for note, I think, is bus replacement. So in the budget for next year, there's 0 for bus replacement, and everybody's chuckling. They've heard me say in the office, no more buses, no more buses. So we did order some buses, including one several months ago. The past trend had been, as you've heard me say, 12 or 15 months to get a new bus. Well, now three came in the other day. Now two we kind of knew were coming. So 2 lease purchases, when we're going to pay for, and so for a year or 2 or whatever we deem necessary, we're going to have no new buses coming in. So that won't continue forever, but that's just an item in the agenda or in the budget. There are no new buses in the FY27 agenda for that. So that's really all the highlights. The revenue that we have, which we'll discuss in detail at the next meeting, is about $100,000 more in state aid than last year, but there was a 3% pay raise. And so it did take a bit of a step back, being funded on 1,382 students versus 1,400. And the local taxes, which were just approved with the local levy, again, those rates are set by the state. We can't change them. That revenue coming to the Board of Ed is about 100,000 more than a year ago, 3.8 to 3.9 million, but the state takes away 85%. Then so that increase only helps the Board of Ed about $15,000. Now the county commission, for a comparison, whatever accrues to them stays with them, so to speak. So as the assessments and appraisals go up, thus the county had an excess levy, and then that's what certainly Hardy County is pushing very hard these last few weeks. Grant County hopes to hang on to that. I know Summers County is trying to run an excess levy way down the southern part of the state for the first time in many years. So I don't know how successful they will be. That's where you get to keep any local tax money and those sort of things. So, it does reflect a balanced budget. Is it a leaner budget than presented a year ago? There's less wiggle room, less margin for error, but it is a balanced budget, and I'll talk about some more of those details in financial update. Again, we've made some reductions, but obviously with losing funding for 18 students, that's well over 100 to 150,000 loss in revenue compared in year to year. CIS grant funding is being reduced every year, so that's costing us probably 50 or 60,000. So as I'll talk about in financial update, our fund balance has been hanging level, trending up a little bit. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard next year, to trend up again. But if we can work on some things we've talked about, yes, we'll have to look at the whole big picture again as we go throughout the year and into the spring. Certainly, we're still in a reasonable position, but it's a tighter budget than a year ago, and we just have to keep that in mind. Could we? I expect to end this year about 1.85 or 1.9 million, and that's a continued upward trend for the past couple of years. I think it would be perhaps difficult to stay there or increase again. If we do slide back, I don't think it would be very far, but that's also our signals we've discussed. Okay, we're still okay, but what do we want to do? How proactive do we want to be on those sorts of things? So that's all I have for tonight. Nothing for approval. We have another month before the next board meeting, so the next two board meetings will be discussed in more detail. You can look at this. It's on board docs. I can send you an email copy if you send me a copy to remind me. I can give it in some summary form as well. So the numbers from the state have been updated. The pay raises have been updated. And there is extra money in here for the debt service, meaning that we have some more lease purchases on the book, so that's reflected than what we have had. But the good news is that's spread out over time, and we are, again, embarking on the FES, Franklin Elementary project, and that will be, by and large, lease purchase. We hope to get MIP for Brandywine. We'll find out, in June if we get it. If we get that at Brandywine, that local match, if what's required, can probably be leased purchased as well. And we do have some permanent improvement money. We have about $300,000 in a permanent improvement fund. But we also have a goal of finishing the roof, leftover roofing at the middle high school, so we have an ambitious agenda. We were always very proactive with facilities and getting things done. We have to make sure our revenues and expenditures match up, and we continue to monitor that. And obviously the legislature, we keep an eye on them too. So and we'll see what happens. Any questions for me? Any comments or anything?
Thank you.
Yep, so that's just information for discussion. But the numbers are very solid, and there will just be some continued updates to you and a little more summary in there. So that's for the budget as it stands. Now, the financial update kind of goes into with the budget report, So I gave a handout to you. It's some charts. It's some charts that really the state presents. I've done a little bit of editing myself. And so this is good financial analysis, and sometimes I'll do my own charts on things. Sometimes I'll use what's already available, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. So what does this show here in front of you? Well, it shows through FY20 what our fund balance has been, and then this will segue into our audit report that's just completed for 6/30/25. So our fund balance is what do we have left over at the end of the year in our regular general fund, that we have to sustain us going forward, how much do we have in excess of zero, basically, and our total budget now is close to $20 million. So if you had a chart going back 10 years, it would be about 0 or 100 or 200 or -5, and so with the COVID funds, with improvement in state funding, it has enabled us to do some things, capital project improvements and items, but it still doesn't take much to turn things opposite direction. So this particular first page shows at the end of 22, in the middle of COVID, just about 1.7 million fund balance. 23 went down to just over 1.1 million. Of course, that was the year in 23 that we paid the bills for the Board of Education building here. Again, the building was given to us, donated to us. We had to do some extensive renovations, but as several folks I've talked to, even across the street at the bank, said you've got a multi-million-dollar building, for less than $1 million there, which I certainly believe that doesn't buy us anything. We don't do anything with it, but it was a good purchase at the time, and kind of was a moment in time to be able to have the building, to have meeting facilities and everything like that. So our fund balance took a dip in 6/30/23. 6/30/24, the last year of the COVID money, which we could transfer some existing expenses into, back up to almost 1.6 million. That increased at the end of 25 to almost 1.76 million. If you add in another assigned fund balance, it's almost 1.8. I expect, so between 1.75 and 1.8 with some assigned fund balance for workers' comp, I expect at the end of 26 to again to be in the 1.9 million range, depending how the year ends. So that would mean, several years of steady increases. That's going to be a very difficult feat to continue going into FY27. I can't give you the exact, but I think, we might, again, take a small step backwards, depending on how the year goes, to how successful we can be with some of the other initiatives. And so anyhow, we'll have continued conversations. So that kind of gives us a timeline. And the good news is it's still significantly more than it was, before the state improved funding in 2019, and some other factors happened as well. So, but again, with an overall $20 million total budget, it's still pretty small. I mean, it doesn't take much to turn things around. The next page, page 203, which is on the back, this is the state showing, so it shows a lot. So the first line, how many professional and student support personnel are allowed under state? So professional personnel and nurses and counselors in step 5. It could be social workers. So it goes from FY22, 107.7. You can see for those 4 years, 5 years, almost the same. Well, why? Because we had the 1,400 floor and we're getting the same funding for the same amount of people every year. Other counties certainly are aware of that, and they're very envious of that fact. Well, obviously now, with Pocahontas losing so much enrollment, we're going to see for 6/30/27 next year funding for 106.09 professionals. Okay, so we can see it in the real format. Those 18 students lost us over a position in professional. Also factored in is the vocational school a little bit, so it's good for our students to go down there, and we've seen tonight how good that school is. The higher enrollment numbers that go down there, they transfer some of our personnel funds to cover the personnel costs down there. That's just how multi-county works. And so, so that also plays a factor, but it isn't always based upon our own exact population. You can see, going back to the first line, 107.75 in 22 to 107.32 in 26, the same 1,400, but a difference in vocational and what that count was affected by. Now 106.09 projected, actually employed 95.7 is the projection. It still may come down a little bit, and so 10.39 to the good. So when you see, most counties will see they're employing more than the formula. Well, we're employing less. That enables us to balance our budget, keep our schools open, keep what we're used to. Now, the warning sign there is, in 22, we were 21 to the good, the third line down. Then we were 15 and 15, and in 10, of course, the COVID money went away at the end of 24, And so, my concern is, if we would maintain exact same staffing ratios, that, that over time, if we still have that Pocahontas County factor, we would start again to go down further. I'll show what the dollar amounts mean here in a little bit. So total, and then the next two lines show employed from local funds. Well, there's a couple of factors there. Employed from local funds are people not funded by the Board of Education, not funded by the state. So it's professional accountants, child nutrition directors, it is myself, it is some directors, certain director positions are not considered funded by the state. And so again, it's all part of the package. And if we have a person that we've employed but isn't fully certified, such as a counselor, or we had a technology person that was working for us, met the permit requirements, but wasn't eligible for funding, that shows up as being locally funded. So there's a couple factors that contribute into that. So, we'll increase that next year, that 0.7, I put the 6 there before, is the CIS personnel. We will have those personnel, and it'll probably make about 0.7 difference in that calculation. We still get grant funds, but the difference between this year's grant money and next year's grant money is going to be about 0.7 there. So 3.69 to the good in total number of professionals. And in 2022, that was 17.85 to the good. So we've still navigated all these years and still maintained the fund balance and been able to work through all of that. At the same time, that's where some of these numbers start to come down a little bit. That's a bit of a concern. Now, the service personnel employed and funded increased. Well, the Third Grade Success Act happened. We were given 4 to 5 additional personnel for funding for 3 years. So we go from 63.5 allowed in 22 to 77.1 allowed. Not because enrollment went up or anything, but because they gave more funding for the Third Grade Success Act. You can see going from the 25 to 26 and then 27, projected 77 funding for the current year, 76.71, so not near as much of a decrease. Service personnel aren't as affected as directly by the loss of enrollment, but still affected. So 4.97 to the good for service. Statewide, it is always harder to reduce service personnel than professional personnel, mainly with the need for the aides, the bus drivers, and some others. So it's just a fact. The ratios for service personnel aren't as good as the ratios for professional. Professional is not enough either, but in terms of more counties are a higher percentage over the formula on service than they are compared to professionals across the state. So at any rate, what's total? Service professional, so we're 8.66 underemploying what we're allowed, projected for FY '27. That compares to being 19.7 in 22, 13.7 in 23, and you can see 11, and then 8, and back up to 11 this year. Some of those numbers are affected a little bit by staff, by your certified list in October. If you have a position not filled, that person doesn't count as being employed. And so sometimes October rolls around, we don't have a person in there, so it throws off the numbers a little bit, so that's a little bit misleading. And well, why did we change 2 people? Well, maybe we did something, maybe we didn't, maybe it's just who was certified. But the bottom line is 8.66, well, that goes down. That money helps us to, again, balance our budget and keep all our schools. Let's say that goes down to 6 or 7 a year from now, or our projections are, then yes, it's going to be a continued difficulty in balancing our budget. So that's just information where we are with that, and these numbers of allowances are again based upon the 1380 versus the 1400. How does that translate to numbers? So the third page simply goes into, it gained us, quote unquote, 1.25 million. And there's other factors go into the funding form. 1.25 million in 22, 890,000 in 23, down to 593 in 25, back up a little bit. 26 this year, but I think that's a bit misleading because a couple people weren't on certified lists, so that's what it shows officially. But the projection's 481 for 27. And so, I say it's a tighter budget, and yes, we've factored some things in. Yes, there were some personnel changes, but still, it's a tighter budget. And so we still rely on that. This is just from the personnel, that's the costs, estimated cost, which for us being in brackets means, the savings from being underemployed. But we're not underemployed as much as we once were based upon the allowances there. So still reasonably solid numbers, again, compared to our recent history, with things for us to keep in mind as we go through. So basic data, no approval needed. That's what's under financial update. The second one is real quickly, it shows where we always have a lot of technology, even in large systems, so we recycle them. We recycle them and get a small piece. You're supposed to discard your technology, correctly, not just throw it in the dumpster, not get rid of it in a way that's going to be harmful or anything like that. So this upcycle works with technology department, including James, and they'll dispose of it. They'll make sure they destroy any information like hard drives or anything like that. So we just had some 418 Chromebooks, 117 hard drives. And the original Chromebooks we purchased in 2020, December, January of 2020. So while it seems hard to believe, they're 5 or 6 years old. So we've been replacing some of those through 172 laptops, 32 PCs. So total, altogether, 814 items. And they were just taken away and recycled. And this is a company that we have vetted, and they've done a very good job for us on that. So just received that today for yesterday's work. So that's a lot of things going behind the scenes, even getting rid of a lot of our stuff. It takes a coordination to make sure that happens. So periodically, sometimes if you ever walk in the back of this building, you will see all kinds of stuff back in. It used to be the Klein building, a little bit. Now it's kind of back in there. But this is an attempt to stay on top of keeping what's needed, but also trying to recycle and get rid of stuff that we no longer need anymore based on that. So I have under financial update, June 30, 2025 audit report. I'll hit the highlights. You have an audit report in front of you. You can keep it, you can give it back, whatever you would like to do. It's up to you. It's over 100 pages long as I get my screen back here by moving the computer. But obviously you don't need to read it all. It's also online on the state auditor's website. So I've highlighted some pages. So page 1, you have to look at the bottom to get to the page 2, so to speak. Page 2 is where it says board officials. So I put those highlights in the front. So where it says page 2 on your actual audit report, that's where U.S. board members are listed in there. And that's obviously updated every year. It's pretty, it's not the most taxing thing that we do, obviously, but it is part of what has to be done. It makes everything official. Who are the board members? What are their terms? Who are any appointed or elected officials? And it goes on. So the next item, the next item is a management's discussion and analysis, which I said is page 11. Page 11, and there's other stuff in there too, but this is some of the more interesting. What is some of the analysis? What were revenues by source? So page 11, where did the money come from? Well, we're just doing a budget, so it's kind of an interesting time. We're finishing up 25, living in 26, getting ready for 27. So revenues by source. Well, state aid, roughly 58%. And that includes regular state aid, money for retirement, money for insurance. Okay. Property taxes, 22%. And again, the state says, what are you going to collect locally? We'll give you the difference, let you keep 15%. And that's how the property taxes make up 22% of the budget. So that's really, 80% there. Okay, well then operating grants and contributions, kind of the purple on the upper left, that's 10%. Well, that's some things like Title I, that's some things like special education, that might be some of the Step 7 funds that come in the form of a grant, some other grants that we have. So some federal and state grants, if you actually had a building project, you might have a capital improvement grant. So 10% in this past. Unrestricted grants and contributions, that could be things like forest land funds, it could be some Medicaid, it could be some E-rate that comes in from the federal government. That's like 3%. Charges for services, what the heck is that? Well, part of that is Medicaid, meaning we get reimbursed for services, but also child nutrition. While the personnel, the students aren't paying anything anymore, but adults are, we get reimbursed $600,000 to $700,000 from the federal government for the food service program. And that's a service being provided in the accounting language. So a charge for service would be, the meal program would be a large one there based on that. So that's kind of how that breaks that out. Investment earnings got 1%, which it used to be about point something percent. So that, $100,000 that we got there, 100 plus. And then, so that's the breakdown. So, quote unquote, that can change a bit by year, but that's where the revenue came from for 25. The expenses by function. Okay, so this can be a bit misleading, but it's real. 52% for instruction. It's like, only 52%? Okay, well, what else? Well, any kind of special ed support is a supporting service. Any transportation is supporting service. Maintenance is a supporting service. Of course, administration, so you get the idea. If it isn't directly related to instruction, we're not supposed to code it to instruction. So some of the special ed is instruction, obviously, classroom teacher. Some of the therapies and things are not necessarily instruction, so that would be total supporting. But again, operations and maintenance over $1 million a year, plus salaries for operations and maintenance. Bus drivers, bus trip, diesel and parts and maintenance and buying buses and bus driver salaries. All that's other supporting services. Yes, administration. So yes, all that is, and the smaller you are as a school district, the less you see in most cases going to instruction, not because you're trying to shortchange it. You have certain fixed costs you have to provide. You have to heat the school, you have to air condition the school, you have to, do all the things. The schools could probably, almost all of them could hold double the students, maybe not FES because it was built more recently, but most could hold double the students they have now or close to it. We don't have that number, and it wouldn't raise our expenses a whole lot. But when you're spread out and you're rural, you know how the statistics look. 7% for food services. Child nutrition's over $1 million a year program. Food costs, labor costs, and we have that spread out among the 4 schools. So that's basically, again, where the expenses go based upon the charts there. Then the balance sheet. So I have then page 3 of the PDF, which is page 18 of the report. So where it says 18 at the bottom, or on the screen is page 3. I'm just hitting the highlights for you. Balance sheet governmental funds. So this doesn't count all the GASBs and things that we do. The governmental funds are the basic cash transactions we do, plus any receivables that were owed that are going to contribute to cash. So the bottom line is, we finished about 1794721, the 1752 in unassigned, the 42 and the workers' comp that I mentioned up above. So 1794721, that was our fund balance for Fund 11. So what are the other fund balances? Well, okay, just to the right of the 1794, we have special revenue fund. So that would be things like any amounts that we have on hand for grants, any things like that, 334,023. What's the 381,919? That's the school money. It's required now to report individual school funds in with ours. They still have persons at the schools that take care of it. We now, based on GASB 84, have to report that at this level. And we go through a year-end elimination of transfers so we don't over-report expenses, which is a pain, but we have to do it. But 381,000 from the schools. 300,000, second from the right-hand side, permanent improvement fund. That's where we have been putting in since 2020, 50,000 a year into the permanent improvement fund. And the right-hand side is just the total. So the total fund balance is 2.810663. So you can see as I talk about cash during the year, sometimes in fund balance, it's all in the ballpark, but cash isn't fund balance isn't cash, but cash is a great indicator as you go throughout the year. Because if your cash is going down, your fund balance is probably going to be going down. If your cash is going up, your fund balance, it's going to hold its own or may go up. And there's some timing factors, but cash is still a very good indicator of where you're headed. And so the next page are revenues and expenses for the year. So, and then transfers in and out between funds, like transferring. So the bottom line is third from the bottom, and I'm on page 20 now, page 20 of your audit report. Third from the bottom, how much did fund balance change for 25? It increased 159,856. Okay, that's good. 26, I think we'll see, maybe a little smaller, but I think another increase in fund balance. That's where I'm concerned, that for 27, may not see an increase there, but obviously, we've been having small increases to maintain what we have. So that 1794 comes back to our general fund, where did we end the year of 6/30/25. So that schedule shows what happened during the year, as an income statement does. The balance sheet before showed where we ended up during the year, and then, we can see that information that's there. A couple of statistics, and then any questions you have, we can ask at a future meeting. The next page of the PDF just showing capital assets, which is page 40 of your audit report. Capital assets don't really mean anything in our surplus or deficit, but for entity-wide, for proper accounting, we have to track our assets and depreciate them and record all of that information. What is our land worth, or what have we paid for land? Assets, as I tell my accounting students, are always on the books what you paid for it. Doesn't matter what they're worth now. So our land is on the books at $598,929. Heavily influenced, by land we just purchased a couple years ago by FES. So the more recent you purchase something, the higher it's going to be on your assets. Land improvements are things like parking lots, paving, bleachers, those sorts of things. Just over 650,000 land improvements. So total depreciable assets, 50 million total. We've already depreciated over $18 million because the high school's been around for 20 years. North Fork's been around for 20 years. Brandywine for about 15, 18 years. So you have some depreciation on the books. The total net of depreciable is 31 million. Throw land back in there is 32 million. So it takes some time at year end, but you go through the steps and report the assets. Again, that doesn't count as anything that, technically, yes, on paper, we have assets on the books, for $32 million. I highly doubt we could sell the high school, for $30 million. I mean, I don't know that we could do that. So nonetheless, capital assets is information for accounting purposes. Doesn't really do a lot for us otherwise. Now, long-term debt, on the other hand, debt is important to us. The compensated absence is the first line. They've added a new requirement there. Doesn't affect our bottom line, comp absences. It's vacation that still people have. And for the first time, they've made it, it's GASB 101, they've made us put on the value of person's sick leave who cannot convert it into retirement benefits. And so if you're on the books and have sick leave that can convert to retirement, it's not in this number. So, and again, they offset it with their revenue entry, so it doesn't hurt our bottom line, but it now shows. So as more and more people come into the system, in the new retirement system, that you can't use sick leave, that number on the books, but you got to go through a year-end calculation and come up with compensated absences, which for us is a value of $1.5 million. You take their average salary times the number of sick leave days they have, which retirement system they're in, and you do the calculations. And we had to go back and state it as of FY24, bring it forward to FY25. It didn't exist. We didn't have to do it in 24, but had to make it retroactive to 24. The more important number is our lease purchases. The balance at the end of the year is $479,016 of 25. We have added several lease purchases during FY26. That number next year will be higher, substantially higher, and we'll work on a plan of paying that off over time, that $479,016. So then we have a chart of about state grants. All you need to know here is there's about 36 different state grants, and we had revenue of over $700,000, expenses of over $650,000. Communities and schools is one of the larger of those state grants. Then you have some special ed, vocational, and some various state grants. So also important, as our fund balance, is the next 2 pages of audit findings. We had no audit findings for the year, no question costs, nothing like that, and no findings or anything at all, which is good. We had findings 2 years before that due to the individual schools' internal controls, which we can't really hire extra people there. So we did, and Holly certainly said to me, he says, you can do this. I don't think there's anything we can do. She said, well, talk to other counties. Some counties were hiring people, which we couldn't do. we finally settled on if we did the school's bank recs for them, and occasionally went out and did a checklist with them, would that satisfy the internal control finding? So in 24 partially and fully in 25, we do a checklist monthly, looking at POs and receipts, even though they're still audited. And then we brought the bank recs into the central office, so it's another set of eyes over the school, what's happening. It is good for internal control. It's extra stuff to be done, but that got rid of the county audit finding at the school level. And so that's where we're back to no audit finding. So that's enough on that. Any questions for me? But again, it's nice when all the numbers kind of tie together, but this is a 6/30/25 audit report.
No question. Congratulations
Thank you.
on another clean report.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's really all that we have under finance.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
So we're done with finance, and we move down to facility update.
Okay, so the Franklin Elementary project, we are starting to plan for that because we're gonna need to coordinate with Energy Express in the summer program because that will be a little bit challenging, but we do expect that work to be done this summer. So we're excited about that and glad to get that done.
Any questions on the facilities?
What about the curtain over at North Fork? Did it get installed or get in?
I do not know. Carlos isn't with us today.
Is the curtain,
The curtain is currently at the school, and Mr. Davis, when I talked to him last, is trying to get us sooner on his books. He didn't think the curtain would be done as quickly as it was. So he is now working with his men as well as us, because I did not want it to interfere with the programs that we're to have scheduled at the end of the year. So as soon as I have a date, I will let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else under facilities? Okay, let's say that one's done. Nothing under old business or new business. The Board of Education self-appraisal, which is something that I went in today and created and sent an email to everybody. If you go to the email, there should be a link. You can go to it, fill it out. When you're done, at the bottom, you just click submit, and it should come to me anonymously. And thank you for the reminder on that, Lisa. Attendance waiver.
All right, I have a request that attendance waiver 25-26 number 9 be revoked.
And you have my recommendation to revoke that.
We have a recommendation to revoke the attendance waiver number 25-26, number 9. Do we have a motion to revoke that attendance waiver?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to revoke that attendance waiver. Any discussion or questions? Then all in favor of revoking the attendance waiver, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Thank you. Student transfers.
I don't have any this evening.
Okay.
I asked that it be on the next couple agendas just because it's that season, in case we have some come in.
Okay. That finishes us up under new business, and we move down to other 8th-month attendance.
Okay. So this was wrapping up that flu season from the last one that we talked about. So I do want to share Franklin Elementary School's 5th grade had the highest individual grade percentage at 96.44. Franklin Elementary as a school was at 92.39 as the highest. The 5th grade overall for the county at 95.07. The county was only at 91.27 for the 8th month, which again is lower than what we would typically see. I did go in and do an update on our average daily attendance and chronic absences because I had marked in my book that yesterday was day 150, but with the approval of spring break, it shifted things. So it's actually day 155. But with that being said, I think we're still all right for the end of the year. We've fallen a little bit behind with those illnesses. It was about 15 days there whenever I do my daily tracker schools were being hit really hard, from about day 125 to about day 140. It was low, you could tell. With that said though, Franklin Elementary was at a chronic absence rate of 10.6. Brandywine Elementary was 15.3. North Fork Elementary 11.1. The middle high school 18.5, and then the county as a whole was 15.3. So, you know, whenever we're looking at the balanced scorecard at the end of the year, they ideally would have us at 10% or less. If we are over 20, that's in the does not meet standards, so we are partial right now, and we're still, if the balanced scorecard came out today, we would be higher than what we ended with last year. So we have about 30-ish days left, and hopefully no more sickness goes through the schools at that time, and kids show up for their testing at the end of the year, and we can finish out strong.
Questions?
Gotta get some fifth graders talking to everybody else, huh?
That's right.
Have you ever, I hear on the radio in the mornings about the different Moorfield Challenge in Petersburg, and have you ever thought about doing anything like that with the schools or anything? Or
I have thought about it, and I've talked to principals. I don't know if I've talked this year, but in previous years, that actually came from an attendance conference that they hold every year, that they bring county teams, school teams from. And there's a lady named Jessica Sprick with Safe and Civil Schools who comes and speaks to the teams just about how to improve attendance as a school-wide initiative, at a tier 1 level. And they will often tell a story of a local district that has 2 rival schools, and so they challenged each other, and whoever lost had to wear the other school's colors for the day. And so at the very first conference that we had talked with Grant and Hardy, who were also there, and just talked about, we don't have many within our counties to challenge against each other, but it might be interesting to go outside of the county. So I believe it's Hardy, and maybe Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, but they've made like wooden plaques, wooden trophies. It's either Grant or Hardy. They've made wooden trophies for whenever they do the attendance challenges with local schools. Whoever wins gets that wooden plaque. So every year, I think the plan is that there will be a month where we are challenged with them.
Yeah,
We've
Dr.
done
Lambert,
one
yes.
with Petersburg and one with Moorfield.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year we did one with Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
It's fun to do that.
yeah. There's a large, initiative. Superintendent Blatt has been pushing for improving attendance rates because we can't teach kids if they're not here. So I think, statewide, we've seen a lot of growth in attendance over the last couple of years with making that change.
Good luck for the rest of the year.
Thanks.
So we'll say we're done on the attendance and school improvement student achievement.
All right, I'd like to open the floor to our principals if they would like to share anything before I share. Do you have any ideas, anything? Okay. All right. All right, so our 4th benchmark will be, it started on the 20th and will continue to the 25th, so I'll have some data at the next meeting. Our 3rd SABRS, which is social emotional benchmarking, is April 29th through May 4th. We have completed SAT school day with the exception of maybe one student no, that's done.
We're good.
We're good, so 100% participation.
No, we've got all we're getting.
Okay. We'll say 99%. They've been diligent and they've done a great job, so. Okay, and that's it for school improvement student achievement.
Any questions here? Superintendent's update.
Okay, so JP, we do have one, while I'm talking about other things you can look, but I have pictures of those buses. So, and I got that just for JP, but also, there we go, he's got them up ready. So there is our 53 passenger bus. I think that was the first, it is the first one we ordered, because you can tell by the second number, that's the year. So it was purchased for the 26th year that we anticipated it. And then the other two buses are 27, so a 77 passenger bus. So the first one is 7727, and then we have two for the same year, so the other one is 7827, but that's still a 77 passenger bus. So those are our two bright and shiny new buses that we expected to get in a year and then a year and a half to 2 years, but they're here. So
We're stocking up.
we're good, like JP says, we are good with buses, so.
And we're working on, Chuck is working on getting the radios and things transferred over to those and different things. So I don't know when we're gonna see those on the road, but they'll be out there some point.
And so as we all go to trainings, we will soon be getting trainings, I'm sure, on updates on the legislative session. The green book I printed for the board members, it is available through the superintendent's update, and if anyone is interested in this information, I can be glad to share that, but I did make copies. We can start reading those and getting up to date on that before they become in effect. Our graduation walks will be this Thursday, and I did put that schedule, I don't know if anyone was interested in that, but I did put that in the executive section of the agenda, so you know where they'll be, about what time of the day. This Friday, we have an early release. Interim reports will be going home, the last interims of the year, and we'll have our fourth faculty senate. Fifth faculty senate. Yeah, there's only 6 in the year. And finally, the West Virginia Association for School Administrators is developing a legislative committee, and I'm going to be joining that, and that will be to increase participation during the legislative sessions, to expand our depth of knowledge, and to make sure that we have a presence, because the overall consensus has been that it's been a very, very long time, if ever, that we've had a seat at the table. We want to maintain that seat at the table and just have a systematic approach to making sure that there's people there on a regular basis, because decisions are made, things happen, schedules change. So not having people there, we found, is detrimental. So we're going to try to figure out a way that there's more of a presence from the organization. So I'm very, very glad to be joining that. And that is all on superintendent's updates.
I will point out to those of you who didn't get one, there's over 100 pages of legislative changes in the green book.
You can have mine if anybody wants it. I have another copy.
We can send you the link.
We can send you the link as well.
Okay, nothing under any questions for the superintendent before I go on? Okay, conference and meeting update.
Okay, so this Thursday, Sunny and I have an EPIC meeting. And on Monday, the 27th, our school board is going to be meeting in Romney at 5:30. For those of us that are going to be attending, you might want to read up a little bit. I think we might be talking about some of these items. Wednesday next week, the 29th, we have our central office meeting. And then the 30th, we have our county leadership. And May 1st, next Friday, our general summative assessment will be starting. And so that's a big deal. So, yep.
Any questions for the superintendent under the update? Then our next meeting will be May the 5th here at 5:30, and I'll accept a motion to adjourn. And a second?
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.